Well, truancy is the first warning sign that there's a serious underlying issue that a child is facing. And when a student starts to not attend school, we know something is wrong. And the earliest intervention, the earliest opportunity to find out what's going on with that child is when we start to see this pattern emerging of being truant from school. We are incredibly blessed to have such an involved district attorney who is focused on prevention at the earliest levels so that the crimes and problems that you have later can be prevented.
There are statutory obligations on the parents to ensure that their kids go to school, and there are sanctions if the parents don't do that. And so that in and of itself, just the DA working with the schools at that minor level really gets a lot of the kids back in school. What it does is it makes the parents aware of what their obligations are under the law, and if they take that seriously, they see that their kids get in school, and that's what we want. We began getting research showing that truancy is the first indicator of delinquency. And that really stuck with me. And so you stop and think about it, the kids, if they're not in school, where are they? Where are they? They're on the streets. They can be recruited into gangs. They're on the streets subject to no supervision, and most importantly, they're not being educated, which is going to impact their ability to succeed later on, to get jobs, to be able to read, all of those kinds of things. And so I reached the conclusion that I wanted to devote resources to try to get children into school. And I felt they had a better chance to succeed. It would cut my work by having to prosecute so many of these young students for crimes that they were committing, not when they were in school, but when they were truant, when they're gone all day. And so we looked at really developing our program, and I think we've been real successful.
One of the biggest things I've seen in the last 5 years, 5 years ago we had one truancy officer, and we had over 320 kids on truancy probation. I just looked at the data. We put more resources. We now have 4 officers dedicated to working with the DA Truancy Abatement Program, and we have less than 150 kids on truancy probation.
The best thing we can do to address violence in our community and keeping youngsters out of gang is to keep those youngsters in school. You know, from the Office of Juvenile Justice, it indicates that 78% of prison inmates had their first arrest as a truant, that 82% of prisoners are high school dropouts, that 67% of truants test positive for drugs, and 57% of violent crimes involving juveniles occur during school hours. Those are pretty powerful statistics when you look at that. And it really highlights that the very best we could do to help these young people and prevent violence in our communities is keep these young people in school.
The District Attorney's Truancy Abatement Program works hand in hand with every school in Monterey County, about 125 schools from the north end of the county to the south. And it starts with the schools. The schools have a duty to record attendance for each student on a daily basis, track the attendance. If a student has an unverified absence or tardy, the school will generally, even that day, notify the family by a telephone call. When a student gets 3 unexcused absences or tardies greater than 30 minutes, that is now considered a truancy, the first truancy. And with that, there is a letter that is sent out that is that contains the statutory language from the Education Code advising the family that their student is now truant with those 3 unexcused absences, and inviting the family to please come in. Let's talk about Why are these absences unverified or unexcused? What can a parent do to correct this? What are the issues that may be contributing to that? If the truancy continues, or if the unexcused absences continue, then the school will proceed with sending out a letter number 2, which then a copy is sent to the district attorney's truancy program, and at that point, we start a record on that student and start to track their attendance.
The district attorney comes in with the school district, with the parent, and with the student. And everyone sits down together, understanding what the law is and the requirement of compulsory education, and that it is the responsibility of the parent to ensure their child is in school. But then the problem solving occurs. And most of these cases are resolved at that level.
Well, the first thing that we tell the families when they come in is that our entire purpose for having this mediation is to help them and solve whatever the problem is. And so the only thing that we ask of them is to be as truthful and honest with us as possible, so that way we can get them that help.
What happened is that my daughter was not attending school, so we got called in for truancy. At first I was a little upset, but then I started to see it as a big picture. The opening of the doors and helping me to understand her so that we can get through this and she can start going back to school was a big plus. At the beginning, I thought, no, this is not going to work, because we were clashing. I didn't know how to just sit back and hear her out. That's my baby, and it cost me a lot, but again, the program taught me how to sit back, listen, and at the end, I always tell her, I love you no matter what. That's why there's a consequence.
I was going to public school, I had bad grades. I was failing almost every single class, and I was in middle school, so I was like, oh, whatever, like, I don't really care about school. I didn't want to go. The judge was all like, oh, I can prevent you from getting your driver's license for like a year or so. And I'm like, I knew that was like my main focus, is to get a driver's license, to be on my own, to be able to do things on my own. And so I'm like, okay, you know what? I started going Silver Star my sophomore year, junior year, excuse me. And then after Silver Star, I moved into foster care. And so like that was just a rough start of my second semester. I'm like, okay, I know this is a great place to be, but, I need to focus on my school. Thankfully, I had a foster family that actually cared about me and cared about my grades. And that's when the grades started improving, the attendance started improving. And since then, I've been just on a straight track to actually get my high school diploma.
Being a longtime prosecutor, you look at what's happening. And it became quite clear to me that our young people, those were the cases that really give you heartache. They were getting involved with the law. They make sometimes stupid decisions. And you say, well, how did they get into that position? And as I looked at it, in the state of California back 25 years ago, we had 6 state prisons for juveniles. And some of them were dangerous. But there are others that I felt they needed some type of intervention, some type of impetus to get them back on the right track. And I am a strong proponent of education. I've been a teacher for many, many years. And I was of the mind, I just got this mindset that as the prosecutor, the chief prosecutor, the chief law enforcement officer in this county, what could I do to divert these children, these young students, back away from crime?
This program is not so that parents can feel like, you know what, you're not doing something right. On the contrary, this program actually brings you up. It helps you. It helps you to understand and to know that there's people and there's programs out there that can help you. Because they not only talk about one little thing, they talk about the whole big picture.
We devote an awful lot of resources to it, but I think it has paid back dividends to our county Because again, I am absolutely convinced if we weren't doing that, we're losing a generation of kids.